Greetings, adventurers. DM Kurt. Who recently ran a one-shot of Call of Cthulhu. My Little Sister Wants You to Suffer by Paul Fricker. Ran it as a one-shot with some pre-gens. The players I have tell me that, oh, I don't want to learn another system. Which, you know, these various systems aren't that hard. So what I did is I told them, fine, it's a lot like your beloved 5e, but it's stripped down and easier. So just trust me on this, you'll be fine. And I converted it over to Shadowdark, so they could have something to work with as a frame point. Everybody's stats were on a D20 scale. You had an armor class, you had some hit points, a couple of skills. Go. Okay, so the adventure itself, you start off as modern day humans with complete amnesia. You only know your name because it's on a name tag as you wake up inside a sleeping pod on a spaceship. Your underwear with a name tag. And as the GM, I have to navigate these players through the spaceship with little things going on behind them where they gotta wonder what's really happening, and I gotta keep that tension up so that at the end I can pop the surprise and there it is. Finale, scene, end. As a DM, it was a little bit stressful to run because I had to be on my game the whole time. I had to be on. It reminds me of the time I ran second edition Paranoia, which also required that I keep everything moving and keep this absurdist sci-fi going on so that they could really get the full gist of what was going on, because it wasn't the same garden variety fantasy RPG, you know, medieval Europe plus magic that they've been playing for the last 40 years. Or 30 years, or 10 years, depending on the player. At the end of the Paranoia game, I had a player say, wow, this looks like a really fun game, but I wouldn't want to run it because it's a lot of work. Like, well, I'm sorry if I, discouraged you there, guy, but I was doing it for you guys. And we had a blast, and that was the point. But I look at some of the complacency that D&D Dungeon Masters get. Yes, when I'm not familiar with, or I'm not comfortable with my group, I'll admit this, I'll kind of just retreat into the rules and into the mechanics and just play it mechanically, which isn't the full experience. Because if you just want rules and mechanics and just click on button, have thing happen, you just play Baldur's Gate or some other computer game. The whole point of D&D is that everybody is doing something and there isn't a script exactly, and it just goes. So I have to take what these one shots, these other games are reminding me of, and I have to apply it back into my D&D game. I'm going to have to remember to add in those flavor details, okay? As everybody's setting up their guard shift for the night, as they're getting sent down to camp, I'll have to describe, okay, and you'll hear this noise in the background somewhere off in the distance. And they'll have to ask themselves, do we want to investigate that or not? I'll have to add those little details and just keep reminding myself of making sure that I'm really expressing the theme, the setting, the spirit of what's going on around them. I don't know. It's something to think of. Sometimes running a different system just for a night and trying to do a good job of it in a short period of time kind of reminds you of what you haven't necessarily been doing in your D&D games. Just a thought. Dim Kurt out.